Assalamu alaikum. I'm here at Munich University, and this is the site behind me is the atrium from which Sophie Scholl on February 18, 1943 threw off her wad of leaflets which led to her arrest, and 4 days later, February 22nd, she was put under the guillotine, herself and her brother Hans Scholl, Willy Brandt, Christopher Pops, and others of the White Rose movement. The road coming in here, in fact, is now called the Scholl sibling Plaza. And even though the Nazis afforded her a tiny remembrance, in fact, an attack against her and her personality in a small tabloid article in a Nazi paper, today in Germany, Sophie Scholl was voted the woman of the 20th century and voted the greatest woman, in fact, in German history. There are more than 190 schools here in Germany named in memory of Sophie Scholl. The old school was called Ulm Gymnasium, is now called Hans and Sophie Scholl Gymnasium, and the motto of the school is that we will stand against injustice. It's amazing being here in this landscape and seeing, in fact, where it all happened, where they were caught with their briefcases of leaflets, and then of course that led to an arrest, convicted on charges of high treason, and then put under the guillotine and executed. It's a remarkable story of resistance, of bravery, of courage. We were just coming in. Outside, of course, is a Luftwinstraff, is the road in which Adolf Hitler used to perform all of his grand speeches, and it was a ceremonious site of Nazism. But of course, the reminder is that the tide, of course, turned. The tide turned, therefore Sophie Scholl is remembered today as an iconic symbol of resistance. She's celebrated, in fact, in German culture, in German schools, as someone who did, in fact, what Germans should have done in that time. I want to give all of us a reminder, in fact, of this occasion when Muslims, of course, have been amassing in the hundreds and thousands in London, Manchester, in Toronto, in Istanbul, in Sydney, to voice their allegiance and loyalty and love for the Muslims of East Turkestan, the Uyghur Muslims. It is being in places like this that reminds us about the importance of always taking a stand against injustice. In fact, in all human genocides, there are going to be 4 kinds of people: the perpetrators, the victims, the rescuers, and the bystanders. Never be a bystander. The hadith, وَمَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ. Whoever sees an evil, let him change it with his hand. And if he can't, then with his tongue. And if he can't, then with his heart. And that is the weakest of faith, meaning use your voice, use your hands, do something. In hadith we find the Prophet of Allah saying that Allah is in aid of his servant as of the servant supporting his brother. Therefore, being in sites of importance like here today, resistance is a reminder. In fact, on the day of their being sentenced to death under the guillotine, it was her brother Hans Scholl who shouted out and exclaimed in the court that we might be hanged today, but tomorrow you will be in our same position. Like that, the tide will turn. Chinese Communist Party won't last forever. That victimization, dehumanization of the Muslims of East Turkestan won't remain forever. It was her father, Robert Scholl, who shouted out that you will all stand before in a higher court in time to come, meaning on the day of judgment. The word was true. Allah in the Quran says that Allah is not heedless about what the zalimeen, the oppressors, do. إِنَّمَا نُؤَخِّرُهُمْ لِيَوْمٍ تَخْشَعُ فِيهِ الْأَبْصَارُ تَخْشَعُ فِيهِ الْأَبْصَارُ. Allah delays them for a day when eyes will stare in horror. Reminder, therefore, never be silent or apathetic. When people are facing victimization, othering, dehumanization, and injustice, it is upon us as human beings, as Muslims, to always be there for the sake of other people. And being here at this site is a reminder, in fact, for that, because this was the epicenter of the European dehumanization against the Jewish people and other people, and it was the epicenter of Nazism. And being here, a reminder for the BJPs of India, of the Zionists of occupied Palestine, of the CCP party. Reminder, not everything doesn't remain forever, and soon enough the tide will turn in favor of those who have been oppressed in the land. Like today, Sophie Scholl is celebrated as an icon, a symbol of resistance for the rights of those oppressed people.